Hey guys, and welcome back to DarkLogic Studios' Attack on Titan theories and discussions. Before we go any further, I want to give you fair warning that these videos are going to contain lots and lots of spoilers. So if you're not caught up with the manga, then what are you doing with your life? Seriously though, if you don't want spoilers, you should probably click on something else. If you're all caught up though, then let's get to it. So let's talk about chapter 91. As soon as the chapter was out, people were coming out and saying how confused they were and what's going on, what's with these new characters, what the heck are we doing now, and I can kind of see why people are confused. On the other hand, this is exactly where I would have expected Isayama to go at this point. Now, we've gotten to the basement, we've gotten to the ocean, we've gotten outside the walls. So guys, the next logical step would be to further the progression of the story, is to see what the world is like outside the walls, which means we have to leave our characters again. Now, I get why people are complaining, because it feels like we haven't spent a lot of time with our characters lately. Like, we had this whole thing with Grisha and Kruger, and going back and forth, just seeing a little bit of our characters at a time. And it seems like we're finally getting back to them, and then we have this time skip, and then apparently we're gonna have another time skip, and now we've got all these new characters being introduced, and this is most likely the final arc of the story, and it's kind of like, what are we doing? But no, this actually makes perfect sense. And if you've been following my channel, then you probably already know why. But I'll reiterate it for everybody else who's not on the same page. So, one thing we've been talking about a lot on this channel is the moral questions that Isayama likes to play with. The blurred line between good and evil, the point we continuously revisit that everything exists in a gray area, there is no black and white. And of course, we've had this theme throughout the story, and the theme of choice and what's right or wrong, and whether it's better to sacrifice for the greater good, or sacrifice the greater good for yourself and your people. And so this moral ambiguity, these really tough questions that Isayama has been asking, it's all been a common theme throughout the whole story, with Levi, with Eren, with all these characters, and now it's starting to come to a head. At the end of the chapter, we are left with the reality that these characters have to make the hardest decision that you could probably ever imagine having to make. Whether they should allow themselves to be destroyed by the Marley for what many in the outside world probably believe is the greater good for humanity, or to kill everybody out there who wants to kill them so they can survive. Like, what really is the better choice? Neither choice really is a good choice. Both are pretty fucked up, so... But up until this point, we've only seen this conflict through the perspective of the Eldians. We've only gotten to know Eldian characters and their way of life and their perspective. We haven't gotten to know any Marleyans or anyone who is on the side of the Marleyans yet. And in order to give Eren's choice and our character's choice the proper weight that it needs, we need to start to get to know the Marley. You know, as I've said before, there is no real villain in this story. The Marley aren't necessarily the villain. They're just another group of people who have very differing beliefs than the Eldians do. And the ironic thing is they both hate each other and are afraid of each other for the same reasons. The Marley want to destroy the Eldians because they think they're a threat to humanity, and the Eldians want to destroy the Marley because they are definitely a threat to their entire society. So if we're going to continue on this theme of moral ambiguity and complex choices, then we can't just say, well, that the Marley are evil and we need to wipe them out so our main characters can survive. I was expecting that Isayama would, in fact, start to introduce us to some of these Marleyan characters and start to let us see the world from their point of view. And that's the point of this chapter. Now what's interesting is we're still technically following Eldians, these kids that are being tested, you know, to see who's going to be the next armored titan or whatever. They're all Eldians, of course, but they're on the side of the Marley. And so with this chapter, we're getting a little exposition. It's a little clunky, I'll admit, but we're getting some information on what's going on outside the walls, why the Marley haven't been attacking the Eldians. We know that now, why all the Titans were so easily destroyed, because they weren't making them anymore. And now it looks like we've seen the last Titan, I think, Gillard, unless this might be the Ymir's successor, because, I don't know, it kind of looks like Ymir's Titan a little bit, but who knows. So yeah, I think the point of this chapter really just simply is to help us get to know the Marley a little more, or the people who are on the side of the Marley, get us to empathize with them a little bit, and get to know some of the characters that are existing in this part of the world, and in this situation. And you know, what we see in this chapter is we don't see these characters that we see, they don't act like villains. They're not, you know, like evil people. Most of them are just kids, and they believe that the Eldians on the island are bad Eldians, as the girl says. Gabby said that once they are wiped out, then only good Eldians will be left, and then nobody will be afraid of them anymore, and they'll be free. At least that's what she seems to believe. And she's awesome, by the way. Like, I love her. She's hilarious. And some people pointed out, too, that some of these characters seem to resemble some of the characters that we already know. Somebody joked that Isayama was running out of character designs, but who knows? I think that might actually be intentional, so that we connect to these characters more. Because these characters are the enemies of our characters, but they're not unlikable. Like, I like these characters. I like the crazy girl with the bomb. I like the nervous guy that looks like Hanji. I like this Falco kid and his brother. He looks like a young Erwin. So I'm not confused by this chapter at all. This is exactly what I was expecting we were gonna do, exactly where I was expecting the story to go. I like the way that Isayama has presented these characters, and how he's starting off their story, and the fact that we're finally getting to see a glimpse of the societies outside the world of the people inside the walls. So who knows how long we're going to stay with these characters, hopefully not too long, because I know I've got a lot of questions about what's going on with our characters, but this chapter definitely has a purpose, and I hope that my interpretation helped you to understand a little more. So thanks for listening to my thoughts. I will talk more in depth about this chapter in my next discussions video, so come back for that in 2 weeks. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.